Hey, broker community. This is Scott Schang from BuyWise Mortgage. We are a mortgage brokerage in California, and welcome to Broker Playbook. In addition to our mortgage brokerage, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I guess I've been in the business for about 20 years. About 10 years ago, actually, it was 2008. It was during the crash. We started a website called findmywayhome.com. And that's where I spend most of my business now, or most of my time now. And really, what I want to share with you today is how to build the ultimate referral machine and make the world a better place. And really, what this is a consumer direct content marketing case study. So, past clients are a good referral source. I mean, they're the best referral source, obviously. Your personal and your business associates, friends and family, these are all good referral sources. But in my experience, by far the best referral source that you can ever have and the highest trust referral source is you. So anybody that spends more than 5 or 10 minutes talking to you, they know that you're a genuine person. They know that you're a professional. They know that you care, and they know that you're an expert in your field. And this is how we get most of our business. I mean, I think all of us as salespeople will say, get me in front of them. Get me in front of them. Let me have an opportunity to have a conversation. And so what I'd like you to get out of today, and the kind of the promise that I think I can make is that I would be willing to bet that you could double or even triple your business in the next 36 months if more people knew how awesome you are. I think it's that easy. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more face time. We're trying to get in front of more people. And the best way to do this is to clone yourself hundreds or thousands of times, creating a massive army of you out there having conversations with consumers about the things that you're an expert at. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Again, I've been doing this since late 2007. So this is really what I've learned over the last 13 years. And we've made a ton of mistakes. I'm not the guy who's lucky enough to get it right the first time. I'm usually going to screw it up. So this is what we've learned over the last 13 years, I guess. So I think when you talk about content marketing and creating content, I think that most people want to create content marketing. But the reason why most people don't is because it's not easy. It's gotten easier in the last decade. I can absolutely promise you that, but it's not easy. It takes time. Sometimes you have to learn new things. It's definitely outside of a lot of people's comfort zone. I mean, it definitely was for me, writing and doing video and putting yourself out there. But the great part about that is because it's hard, there just isn't a lot of competition out there. Most people are not creating good content. So there's an old Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So what we're really talking about today is we're talking about creating your long game. And when I talk about long game, it's really, you're talking about the actions and the activities and the things you're doing today that are going to exponentially benefit you far into the future. And that's really the long game. The long game is putting in the effort now. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about planting trees today so that in the future, you're going to get a steady stream of highly motivated referrals far into the future. Now, why is this so important? Let's talk about the enemy here. And this is really the elephant in the room. The online race for a digital marketing solution is literally no less than the pursuit of eliminating expertise from the mortgage process and replacing experienced mortgage professionals with technology. And really, these are the call center lenders. And these call center, I call this the McMortgage model. And really, what it is you've got these call center lenders that are out there. They're spending billions and billions of dollars to convince consumers that an expert is not needed, right? Push button, get mortgage. Why do you need an expert if you can push a button and get a mortgage? Well, we all know that that's not true, but the consumer doesn't. So, this push towards McMortgage mediocrity, there are literally billions of dollars being spent. So, this is a list of the top 10 companies that are spending money to get eyeballs. So this is the percentage of the percentage of market share of mortgage keywords in paid advertising and internet advertising. Now, the crazy thing about this list is that Quicken is number two, and Quicken alone spent over $1 billion. The last numbers I saw was 2019. So I know they're spending more than that now, especially when you start talking about Super Bowl commercials and things like that, right? So what they're paying for is they're paying to convince, to brainwash consumers that an expert is not needed, right? So let's see, Lending Tree is banks compete and you win. Well, that's not necessarily true, right? Because they're just filling out a form and that form is going to the highest bidder. Is that really the right expert? Now, the other thing that's interesting about this list is out of these 10 companies, I think only two of them are actually lenders, or three of them are actually lenders. And all the rest of them are lead generation companies. Lead generation companies dominate the advertising. They dominate the online search, and quite frankly, they're dominating television and everything else actually as well. And you know there's probably the thing that makes me the most upset about this is not that these companies exist, because in a way I like that these companies exist, because they create more business for us, and I'm going to explain that in a second. But the thing that I struggle with is that all of these companies is that we're losing consumers to these lead generation companies because they're getting to the eyeballs first. And even when they get to the eyeballs first, and then the consumer has a call center experience and they're disgusted and they don't want to go further, they've got to find an answer. And that's what we're talking about today. So everything I'm going to show you today, the numbers that I'm going to show you, what our experience is, really almost all of the traffic and all of the people that we've helped, all of our business is really the result of a consumer being told no or being treated poorly by an inexperienced loan officer or a call center. And all of our business. So there's a story. There's a story about. It's called the Starfish Story, and I'm going to tell you that real quick because I think it's really really important. And you can find this story online. Just go to YouTube and Google Starfish Story. It's a great story. Let me paraphrase it here as quickly as I can. Essentially, so imagine a beach, right? And there's a small boy out on the beach, and he's picking up starfish and he's tossing them into the water. So there's low tide, I guess, and it stranded all of these starfish on the beach. And there's thousands of them on the beach, and they're nowhere near the water. Sun's starting to come out. They're starting to cook a little bit. And an old man walks up on the beach and he sees this small child out on the beach picking up these starfish one at a time and flinging them into the water. The old man's looking at him. He's like, wow, that's curious. So he walks up to the kid and he says, what are you doing here? And the kid looks up at him and he says, well, I'm saving starfish. And the old man looks at him and he says, but there's thousands of starfish out here and the sun's coming up. You can't possibly save all these starfish. And the little kid bends down, he picks up another starfish and he tosses it back out into the water, and he looks at the old man and he says, well, I saved that one. Right. And that's really what we're talking about here is we're talking about the starfish that we can save. So I've had Google Analytics installed on my website since August of 2010. So that's been about 11 years now. Even though we've been producing content, since 2007. We've been tracking it. So in the last 10 years, we've helped just under 3 million starfish. Now, we're not doing business with all of these starfish, obviously, but I've cloned myself so many times and I have so many stories out there and so much content out there that it's been viewed almost 3 million times in a decade. That's unbelievable. And I it and is what's crazy about this, there's a couple of things that we learned about this. So the first thing that we learned is you can make more money than you could ever possibly imagine helping people that were turned down or had a bad experience from an inexperienced loan officer or a call center. There is enough stuff that falls off of that table that we can be there. If you are there to help them, then you can earn that business. When it's kind of a common thing if you talk to a consumer and they're saying, well, I'm going to talk to a few people and I'm going to shop my question. You always want to be the last one, right? You don't want to be the first one and then they talk to four other boneheads that tell them five different things, and then they're completely confused. You always want to be the last person to have the conversation, because the contrast between your experience, your expertise, your passion, your caring, your ability to listen to them is going to stand out from all the competition. And that's really what we're doing. So the second thing that I learned is that being a specialist is far better than being a generalist. It converts higher. They're more loyal. It's much better. So out of all of this traffic, I would say probably 80% of all of this traffic is on probably about a dozen topics or a dozen articles even. We don't talk about how to get an FHA loan. We talk about, can you have a cosigner with FHA, or how do gift funds work with an FHA mortgage? Very granular topics. The tough things that call centers can't handle. And that's really how we determine how we create our content, is what is the stuff that the call centers can't do or that they turn down. Because trust me, in order for those companies to be able to justify it, to run the way that they do, the way call centers work is they don't invest in talent, they invest in marketing. So they've just got some kid in a call center somewhere trying to answer questions, and that's just they're not going to get great answers. So when we're trading content, content basically falls into three different content strategies, or three different categories. And I'm going to share that with you now. So, because that's really the biggest question. It's like, okay, Scott, you create content. What the heck do I create content about, right? What am I doing? What am I talking about? So these are really the three buckets that we found are going to get the highest intent traffic and the best ability to earn trust on that high intent traffic. So the goal here with content marketing is that when the consumer goes online, calls a call center, gets suckered into pushing a button, and then they get disenfranchised, they get turned off by that person, they're going to go back to the internet. They're going to do a Google search. They're going to go on YouTube. And the entire goal of what we're talking about today is you want to be the one that's found in those Google search or on those YouTube searches. So Google is the #1 search engine in the world. YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world. Unless you're 35 years or younger, then it becomes the #1 search engine in the world for that millennial demographic. And that's exactly, you notice that number, that 35 and younger, that's also right about in that tranche of where your first time homebuyer demographic is as well, right? Your early 30s. So this is really what we're talking about. So let's talk about how you create this content. So the first type of content that's really good is timely and relevant content. So timely and relevant content, newsjacking is a great example of this. We, when something changes, so let's say something like the CARES Act, right? So we had COVID last year, and we had the CARES Act, and that's timely and relevant. There's a lot of homeowners that were concerned about forbearance. What we did, Josh Lewis and I at BuyWise Mortgage, we actually created a website called the forbearancereport.org. And we gathered all of the information, and we created content and videos all about how homeowners can deal with forbearance during COVID. So that's one example. If there's a big guideline change, there's a lot of guideline changes that happen. Some of the most common ones. So some of our niche topics, back in 2011, we started writing about buying after bankruptcy, foreclosure, and short sale, or deed in lieu, right? That was both timely and relevant. But over the next few years, those guidelines changed a lot for what the requirements were to buy. That was a really, really high traffic topic for us for a very long time. Probably the next most common, highest traffic topic was student loans. And in June or July 2015, they came up with those student loan guidelines that said that the FHA 1% rule. If your student loan payments aren't fully amortized, then you have to use 1% of the loan balance. Well, those guidelines changed between Fannie, Freddie, USDA, FHA, and VA. I think I got them all. They were all different. Every single one of them had a different guideline. Same with buying after a financial hardship, bankruptcy, or foreclosure. Each one of them has a different guideline, and those guidelines changed and evolved over time. For example, the most recent guideline is FHA finally eliminated the 1% rule for student loans just in July of this year. So now you no longer have to use a 1% calculation if they're on an income-based repayment. So that's a really good example. Another timely and relevant one is you should be talking about how to buy or refinance after forbearance. I mean, we know that there were over 5 million, I believe, over 5 million people stopped making their mortgage payments over a 90-day period in 2020. All those people are starting to come out. Those forbearance plans are expiring, and they're starting to come out, and they're looking to either buy or refinance. So what do we do about that? Another great one is in one of the multi-trillion-dollar budgets that this new administration is talking about. They're talking about a $15,000 first-time homebuyer tax credit. Now, we can argue all day long whether or not creating more demand in a zero inventory market is a good idea, or even if it's going to work. And that's not really the point. The point is, because it's because it's timely, and because it's relevant, and because it's going to be in the news, it's something that you can talk about to help educate and empower consumers, and help them make more informed decisions about how these things are going to impact them. So the first sort of, let's say it's a content tranche or content category, is timely and relevant. Now, the next one is subject matter expertise. So subject matter expertise is when you drill down into a specific subject. So it's not necessarily based on the news. So you could be a VA loan specialist. You could be a member of Vetted VA, right? You belong to this group that specializes in helping veterans. That is a subject matter expertise. First-time homebuyers. Maybe you love first-time homebuyers. Maybe you're the perfect person to handhold them through the process, help them with their research. Employment niches, and this is kind of your homes for heroes kind of a niche. Maybe you specialize in doing, so one of our niches, one of my very first niches was we did loans for teachers. So our brokerage is in the state of California, and we have the California Housing Finance Agency. Every single state has a state housing finance agency. Those housing finance agencies have buyer assistance programs for first-time buyers, usually first-time buyers or or low to moderate income buyers. So that's an opportunity. So in state of California, they had a special program for teachers. So I created a ton of content just for teachers to teach teachers. That's funny. To expose teachers to the options that are available only to them because of their employment status. Policemen, firemen. Now, here's the other interesting thing: is there does not need to be a specific program for teachers. So, for instance, let's look at nurses, right? Nurses, sometimes they don't have regular W-2. Sometimes they work in multiple hospitals. Sometimes they're working 12-hour shifts and then 2 days off. Firefighters are the same way. They work 2 or 3 days on and 2 or 3 days off. Being in California, we've worked with people that work in the movie industry, like people that create sets for movies. They work for multiple studios throughout the year. And and if you're an expert, being able to put together all of those W-2s from all of those companies and calculate that income just an employment niche, when you're just talking to one employment demographic, you're going to attract that demographic to your information. DACA is a big one, right? We're definitely not going to dive into, immigration and legal or illegal or all that kind of stuff. But DACA type guidelines, that is a super powerful niche right now. Not only is that timely and relevant, you can also be a subject matter expert. Divorce specialist, that's a really good one. And one of the ones that kind of falls under subject matter expertise, I love success stories. Just creating content about success stories in any situation. So there's a saying that I really, really love, that there are not 10,000 questions about qualifying for a mortgage. There are 10 questions asked 10,000 ways. And you know this to be true. The answer is always the same, but everybody thinks that their situation is unique. So by just turning on a camera or writing about a success story, what was their problem? How did you solve it? These are powerful, powerful subject matter expertise topics. And when the consumer encounters your clone out there talking about this particular topic, it's like you're talking directly to them, right? Because it resonates with them because they have a specific problem, and you are exhibiting yourself as an expert of this for solving this specific topic. The third one, and the one that I really that is really, really powerful because it's just, there's not a lot of competition there, as being a local influencer. And in this type of content, you're really talking about community or geographic specific content. So when you're talking about the content, you're mentioning the city name, you're talking about zip codes, you're talking about the county or the state. The state is a little bit broad. This is like counties or towns if you're very, very hyper local. This is a great opportunity because you're creating content about, not about mortgages necessarily in this type of a strategy. You're talking about the local neighborhoods. You're doing interviews with local real estate agents. Talk about what it's like to get your offer accepted in which neighborhoods in your community in today's market. So that's kind of timely and relevant, and being a local influencer. Do interviews with local businesses, especially coming out of COVID, right? A lot of these small businesses are struggling. So create content promoting local businesses and attracting people. Because again, when you're a content creator, you become an influencer. You're not necessarily selling mortgages when you're creating content. In some cases, you're selling mortgages, but really what you're doing is you're showing people that you're a knowledgeable and that you're an expert and that you're a professional in your field. The local influencer is really fun because you can interview local leaders, talk to the supervisor of the school board or the principal of the local school board, talk about what they're doing with kids coming back to school after COVID, right? Or talk to the mayor, talk to these kinds of things, and then promote local events and activities that are going on, especially local events and activities that your mortgage company is sponsoring, right? That's the best way. So you're promoting that, and you're help building other businesses, you're helping promote the community, and you're establishing yourself as an influencer and an expert. So those are the three main topics that you can create so much content, and you don't have to choose one funnel. You can choose all of those funnels, but these are the reasons that you're going to create the content. These are the motivations for creating the content. So where do you publish this content, right? Again, the whole reason we clone ourselves, the whole reason we create an army of us is so that consumers can find us on Google and YouTube. That's the entire reason why we do this. That's our goal. So what we're doing now, so for the first 10 years, I wrote blogs. I just wrote blog content. We did some video, but we didn't do a ton of video. Now we're going all in on video. We're doing YouTube first. The reason for that is you can record the video, you can talk, you can tell your story, you can be animated about it, and then you can transcribe that content and you can turn that. And I'm going to show you a really cool tool for that in just a second. But then you transcribe that, and now you've got text, you've got copy to accompany your video. And if you're publishing that content on your blog, you embed the video and you just paste the transcription underneath it. Now, if you're really concerned about it, you should do some editing in there, but it's not that necessary, because if somebody lands on content and they have the option of reading it or watching it, they're almost in all cases, they're going to watch it first. So the copy part is really for Google to find it. So here's an example right here. These are 4 different videos I've done over the last 5 years just about student loan guidelines. And there's over 123,000 views on these 4 videos just talking about student loan guidelines. And so that's a little bit of what I'm talking about. And I can tell you, student loans are a huge, huge traffic. We get thousands and thousands of visitors every single month. Which by the way, I didn't really say, we get approximately organically from Google searches, we get about 20 to 25,000 unique visitors every single month that come to our content. And that's not even including, that's not including the YouTube, but in these videos, there's links back to the website so that they can find it. Here's a really, really interesting one that has just sort of evolved over the last year. Josh Lewis there, many of you know Josh. He's my business partner at Find My Way Home, or at Find My Way Home and BuyWise Mortgage. Josh actually primarily runs BuyWise Mortgage in California. So the gentleman there on the left, next to Josh, is Jeb Smith. He's a local real estate agent and a friend of Josh's. So Jeb has been doing YouTube videos for quite a while, but he really kind of dove into it when COVID hit. Just like everybody else, we were found with a lot more time. We were stuck at home. So Jeb really dialed in and started learning how to grow his YouTube channel. So over the last 12 months, I would say, about 12 months, a little bit more than 12 months, Jeb's YouTube channel, again, he's a local real estate agent with a YouTube channel. He went from 900 subscribers to almost 38,000 subscribers today. Every single Wednesday, Jeb and Josh do a 2-hour YouTube live where they just go and they answer questions. They'll typically get about 200 to 250 people watching at any given time, and they'll usually have about 2,000 people watching over the 2-hour period. A lot of these Q&As that they're doing, again, they're just answering questions from consumers that are watching this YouTube live. And that's all they're doing for 2 straight hours. And it's pretty powerful. I don't have an exact number, but Josh has closed at least $10 million from consumers that watched these Q&As on YouTube Live. Now, here's the really important part of this. When you create content, the consumer already trusts you before they even reach out to you and before they even contact you. And that's the important of this. They're an observer, and they're just observing the fact that you're an expert, that you're helpful, and you're willing to put yourself out there. So there's no shopping when somebody contacts you from a piece of your content, or if they watch your YouTube Live. They're contacting you, they're saying, I already know you're an expert and I want to get me some of that. So that's crazy powerful right there. And again, that's just a perfect example of how powerful this can be. Now, I'm just about want to wrap this up, but I want to give you this is the best trick that I can probably give to you. That's a company called Dscript.com. Now, what Dscript does is it allows you to either upload video to it, or you can do screen share videos. But what's cool about it is it auto transcribes your video. So when you upload the video, it'll automatically transcribe it. We've used other companies like Rev.com, and there are other companies out there that'll transcribe your videos. But here's the really cool part of Dscript.com is there's a single button that you can push that eliminates all the pause words, all the ums and the ahs. And you're like, okay, that's kind of cool. But no, it gets way cooler. You have a transcription under your video. You can go through the transcription, and if you said something that's just dumb, like you missed it, like I didn't want to say that, I kind of screwed that up, you can delete that sentence in the text and it will edit the video, and it'll edit it out of the video. So let me repeat that, because this blows my mind. You can edit the copy and it will automatically edit the video for you. So you can remove stuff. Well, it even gets crazier than that, because you can add copy and you can add your voice, and it will also add content. It can change words too. So it's a crazy, and it's not expensive. So this is a really cool tool for editing, editing your text or for editing your videos and creating a transcript for your videos that you can then publish. So at the end of the day, what I want to leave you with is you are absolutely your best referral source. When you create content, you are cloning yourself. You're creating an army of clones out there that just exist on the internet. I have thousands and thousands of articles and videos out there, and I am having one-way conversations with consumers. I am earning trust of consumers every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And again, as I mentioned earlier, when somebody consumes your content or when somebody engages with your content, they already know and trust you, right? People do business with people that they know, like, and trust. Well, they're knowing, liking, and trusting you on their terms at their time. So when they contact you, they already know who you are. So at this point, I really hope that I've inspired you to share your awesomeness and clone yourself as many times as you can. And we can make the world a better place when more people know that you exist. It's literally that simple. If we are out there and then consumers get stuck into a call center, or they find an inexperienced loan officer that screws up their deal, you can now be found on Google and YouTube when they go back to the search bar to try to figure out why everything went horribly wrong. And I promise you, they are turning down and turning away way more consumers than they are helping. That's just the nature of the deal. They're helping a very small percentage of people, especially your big call centers, right? They're not going to do complicated deals. They're not going to do somebody self employed. They're not going to be able to help somebody with multiple jobs. They're not going to be able to help a perfect file just because it's a dumb kid in a call center that worked at a pizza place last month, right? And that's just the nature of what we're doing. So make the world a better place, clone yourself, get yourself out there. And now I'm going to drop something that's really going to hurt. The hardest truth about content marketing is you are already doing most of the work. You're already doing most of the work. You already have these conversations with consumers every single day. You have an inbox in your email of hundreds or thousands of questions that consumers are asking over and over again. The problem is you're keeping it a secret and consumers don't know about it. So at the end of the day, being found on Google and YouTube makes the world a better place. And hopefully, you found this valuable. Hopefully, this is something that I've inspired you to learn how to start creating more content. If you have any questions about this, or if you want to dive in this deeper, there's one way that you can find me, and that's going to be at AIME Fuse at the Bellagio this next month. What is it? September 23rd, 4th, and 5th in Las Vegas. So I encourage you, if you haven't already signed up for Fuse, do it. If you have questions about this, or if you thought this was interesting, or if you want to explore this and how it could work for you, find me there and I'm happy to share. So thanks for listening, and I hope this was helpful.